family expects more and more of you as you grow up. The teachers and tutors hired by your father keep you on your toes all the time. Your life these days is dedicated to studying for your future, for the future of the Brante family. Your younger brother Nathan keeps growing up too. He can hold a conversation now. You never refuse him when he comes to play, provided you have a bit of free time between your demanding lessons. It is a rainy day today. Father and mother have gone to a ball and they left Nathan in your care. You lose track of time over the books in your sitting room. Nathan goes off alone to splash in the creek. Soon you hear his voice begging you to come outside. He's on the porch sobbing, all covered in dirt. You walk up to him and he continues to bawl. It's all that kid. He pushed me into the ditch and called me names. He said I was fancy pants 4. I said I'll go call my brother. He's still there. You have to go punish him, Siegfried. Nathan points at a lopsided wooden house further down the street where the poorer artisans live. You see the two boys lingering there on the porch. They are clearly both commoners, but far from poor. One of them is almost as tall as Nathan, and he frowns in a funny way, just like him. The other looks older, almost your age, but he is more broad-shouldered and taller. His name is Thomas. You've heard it before. There, Siegfried. That's him. Nathan points at the younger boy and hides behind your back. Thomas grins and rolls up his sleeve to reveal strong forearms. He must have been helping his father with manual labor for quite some time. Listen up, rich boys. We don't give a damn about you or your friendship. We don't let nobody call our home a stinking rat hole. Your little brother earned his ditch dive. Maybe next time he'll dress normal and stop picking fights with people who can throw him in the mud. Your hands clench into fists before you react. Nathan called them names first. No wonder they did the same. That's how it goes, but pushing your brother into a ditch is too much. Thomas stands tall and confident. He sees no threat in you. You are about to get ready for a fight when you feel a tug on your sleeve. You turn your head to see Nathan, the one who started the whole mess. The quarrel can be solved peacefully. You turn to Thomas and offer to solve the problem like adults. His brother will apologize to Nathan. Nathan will apologize to him in return. There's no need to fight anymore. And you will give Nathan a piece of your mind when you get home. You and Thomas are all grown up. You should act your age, you say. The blood rushes to Thomas's face when he hears this. Act our age, you say. Are you calling me a baby? You better shut your trap. This is all he says before you attacks. You barely dodge a fist flying to your face. You start trading blows, huffing and puffing with rage. The younger brother gawk in awe at the sight. Thomas does not resort to fancy moves, dirty tricks or stupid taunts. He displays nothing but skill earned in many a street fight, and his heavy fists aim for your head. You keep dodging him again and again, trying to reach him. He takes a couple of glancing blows but easily shakes them off. What a bruiser. You start swinging your fist with greater and greater fury. Your heart is pounding like a hammer. You see nothing but the foe in front of you. How much longer will this take? You're worn out. Your breath grows ragged and your muscles grow heavy. But there's no way you can give up now. Nathan is watching you. Desperate and out of options, you swing and punch Thomas square on the nose, and then immediately let his fist smack you in the temple. The blow rings through your head like a bell and blinds you for a moment. The world swims before your eyes. You clutch at your head to get your bearing. Thomas is standing in front of you, blood dripping from his nose. You no longer want to fight it out. It seems like your opponent would rather end it too, but you keep standing there, eyeing each other angrily. Then suddenly, you hear an angry shout right next to you. An enraged man in a craftsman's apron is shaking his fist. Thomas' face contorts in terror right away. It's my father. Run. The punishment for fighting is flogging, and the mere prospect of that makes you run like the wind. Thomas sprints in front of you. You dash across the rotten wooden planks off the back alley, up and over a lopsided fence, across a giant puddle in one leap, and then forward to the tall grass. You hide there and stay quiet. You hear no sounds of pursuit. You exchange glances with Thomas and start laughing. His laughter is loud and infectious, but soon he cuts it short and grows sadder. I'm gonna get flogged anyways. My dad's always quick to give me a beating. Then he start nagging me about the lots and the prayers for days like he always does. Why do I always get myself mixed up in this stuff? But fighting's the only way to prove your worth in anything, right? The adults didn't see you fighting. You tell him. So all you have to do now is convince him that you weren't. Nosebleeds happen, right? Mother gets nosebleeds all the time. Well, we could try it. Let's hope our little brothers don't tell on us. I'll talk to mine. There's a scratch on your head. Don't let them see it. Good thing I didn't hit you in the face. There. Good as new. You assure him that Nathan will never tell, and in return you make sure that he behaves himself so he won't get tossed into a ditch again. With that, you shake hands with Thomas. His handshake is as strong as you would expect based on his fists. You make your way out of the tall grass. You need to leave before Thomas's father goes to your family and complains about you breaking your luck. You come to a realization on the way back. You had no idea that the place where you were hiding had even existed, and it wasn't too far from home. Thomas smiles in excitement when he hears this. Oh, I know lots of places like that. I'll tell you what, if we get out of this mess today, I'll show you the way to the old fortress wall. It's the perfect place to build your own fort. I've dragged a bunch of wooden planks in there. Too bad it's no fun to build all alone. My brother never helps, he just gets in the way. You emerge from the muddy back alleys, united by a secret only the two of you know. It seems like you've made a friend today. Jeez, man like Thomas. 9 years old. It is blistering hot today, even for the sun-parched land of Magra. As soon as you are done with your studies, you dash outdoors and out of the stuffy room. You and Thomas roll up your shirt sleeves, but it barely helps. You would gladly go shirtless had you only been in the company of other boys. But there are 3 girls in the yard today. They are doing laundry in a big wash tub, whispering and giggling. If you could, you would gladly keep watching one of them at work. She has big eyes of deep blue. Her dark hair is braided and her plain grey dress is mended and patched all over. Her name is Sophia. She throws her head back a little when she laughs. The rays of the sun are reflected in her eyes. You, Thomas, and the other boys keep telling silly stories, anything to make her laugh. You sure love telling tall tales, Siegfried. Oh, I remember this one. But then Sophia hears a voice calling her home. She nods to you and runs across the street smiling. Her light steps carry her forward, but her eyes are looking elsewhere. But then a stone on the road catches her foot. She stumbles and falls flat into the dust. The street starts shaking from the thundering of hooves. Riders appear on the road from around the corner. They bear a coat of arms you recognize right away. A sable serpent blade upon the field of vert. It symbolizes the how the fuck do I say that word? Milanides dynasty, the family of your province archduke. The horses dash forward. A lost wooden toy on the road cracks underneath their hooves. They will not slow down. They are the nobles, and the rest must make way for them. Sophia is in the way, just now starting to get back on her feet. Her mother is crying for her desperately from behind the fenced door. You freeze in terror. The riders surely see the girl. Are they going to stop or are they going to trample her? In only a few moments, a beautiful girl will be toppled, trampled and shield Sophia from her horses. I don't get this game. You can die multiple times. Fuck it, we're gonna do it. You throw yourself blindly into the road, swinging your arms wildly, dazed by the sound of the thundering hooves. You can see nothing from the dust. For a brief moment, the horses slow down just long enough for Sophia to get back on her feet and flee to the roadside, but then the riders dig their spurs in. Dozens of hooves knock you off your feet and roll across your body. Your bones crack, break and crumble. Your ears are ripped apart by the thundering rhythm of the ride. Your innards are pulverized. The last thing you remember is the sound of your own skull caving in. You fall into the pain that embraces you like a soft featherbed. You feel light, free. There are no restraints, just a warm glow that envelops you in its secure embrace. The waves carry you, their touch is soft. They delicately enshroud what was once your body. It is a feeling unlike anything you have ever experienced before. Something absolute and complete. You touch something greater, the reason behind everything, the reason for your very existence. You were sculpted from the light. It was the first thing you felt, a boundless and sincere unity of the diverse. Your beginning was a spark that cast this light in all directions, and now you are here again, one with the beginning of everything. The light gleaming from you resembles the light of the shining pillar. You still see it in the north as always. The waves of light carry you to two figures. The eldest is nearest. He is ready to accept you. He is quiet, wise, kind and pure. The younger waits further back. You do not know what he is yet. The waves pause at the eldest feet. He leans over you and plants a feather-like kiss on your forehead. The kiss spreads all over you. You are filled with an unparalleled delight and bliss. You exist. You are unique. There's no one like you. They know this and they love you. You will never be alone. You are part of them, part of your family, a part of the universe. The twin gods will never leave you. They watch over you constantly. The elder softly touches you as you lie spread out amongst the waves, sending you further down the torrent of light. You float on to the top of the silver tree spreading crown. The closer you get to the silver tree, the heavier you become. The waves draw you down along its trunk, but you do not wish to be part with the warmth and the softness, with the love. You turn around, the elder is still watching you. He nods, all as it should be. Go, your time's not come yet. You must return to the world now. As you tumble down towards your body, you comprehend the true meaning of your lesser death and the divine love that has been revealed to you. Love exists not only in here, not only in the hereafter. It is present in the entire design of the twins. That is the origin of all life in this world. What is the manifestation of this love in your mortal life? A sudden comprehension of the love with which the entire world is imbued illuminates in your mind, but then it fades away and vanishes. You regain the sensation of your flesh. It is heavy and unwieldy. It lacks the lightness. That light is a burden. It is smothering you. You gasp for air. Your chest expands painfully. You feel as though your lungs are about to burst. The stagnant odor of the crypt fills them, revolting but so real. You are back. Then you can feel again your sense of body, head, arms and legs. The light fades around you, obedient before a will that is stronger than you. You return to the world. Such is the law of the twins. You will return to the world until your time of your true death. And in this world you will have a body with which to feel pain, suffering and pleasure. You smell a sickly, moist odor. You open your eyes and see the figures of your mother and father in the gloom of the family crypt, speaking to each other quietly. They stop as soon as they see you gasp. Mother runs to you and locks you in an embrace as father wraps you in his cloak. Neither of them say a word as they lead you out up to the surface and back home. You've met a terrible end, my son. You are trampled by those horses. Don't be so careless again. The lives you are granted by the twin gods are not to be wasted so recklessly. You would be punished for this, but the twins have already meted out their punishment. You tremble, your steps unsteady as you learn how to move again. Your body is eerily smooth, fresh and renewed. Even the recent scars and scratches are all gone, but there's something new on it, a fresh black mark, a reminder of your lesser death beneath those hooves. Remember that, by the twins' mercy, we all are given enough time in this world. Should you die before your time, you will be brought back by their grace. For 3 times they will rescue you from a terrible fate, but the 4th death is true and final for all. Every loss of life we were granted at our birth is a heavy blow to us, but the gods told us not to mourn a lesser death, and so we will humbly accept this and move on. See your body has been reborn anew with all your wounds healed. Do not mourn your loss of life, my son, but thank the twin gods for their justice. Do not speak of this, and do not ever play by the road again if you wish to keep on living. You cautiously go back outside the next day. Children from the neighborhood surround you. They all saw you get trampled, and now they all ask you the same question. What was it like to die? Thomas rescues you from their pestering. He pushes the motley crew aside, hugs you, and pats you on your back. Look at you, buddy. You gave an entire life to keep a girl safe. Then you see Sophia. She's standing nearby, shyly working up the courage to walk towards you. Soon she finally approaches you and begins speaking rapidly. Siegfried, why did you throw yourself in front of those horses? My life isn't worth any more than yours. Wow, so why did you think that? You weren't supposed to die there. It was all those riders' fault. They deserve to die, not you. Her voice rises to shriek. She suddenly stops and runs back home. You stay where you are, watching her run, the golden rays of the sun dancing in her braided hair. Sophia disappeared after the terrible incident with the horses. Her friends gossiped that her parents sent off to serve a rich, noble dynasty. You haven't seen each other since today, but you still remember Sophia's eyes, the sunlight shining in them. But no matter what, life goes on. You are 10 years old now. Your studies continue and you are learning more about the land you live in. Anizot is an ancient city in an imperial province by the name of Magra. All soil in Magra was turned to ash eons ago, scorched by magic during the rebellion of Duke Char Milanidas. The magical arts are all but gone now, but the scorched earth has remained barren and infertile ever since. Since then, your entire province has lain barren, tormented by cold and scorching wind in equal measure. With few precious plants taking root on their own, all fertile land in Magra is bought elsewhere and brought here by an endless caravan of carts and carriages. To pay for food and soil, the cities of Magra become skilled in many trades, primarily mining and digging for metals and stone. Last fall there was an explosion just outside the city, followed by clouds of thick smoke. First, such an incident frightened the citizens, but then explosions and smoke became an everyday occurrence. Soon everyone grew used to it. Father explains that the miners are using a new invention called gunpowder. It makes it easier for them to reach the precious stones and metals buried deep within the earth. Then one day a thunderous explosion rocks the city, and black billowing smoke covers the house. People are stuck in their homes, all windows tightly shut. The air is impossible to breathe. Nathan coughs all the time. Gloria and you cough only when nobody is watching. If mother hears it, she'll make you inhale those hot herbal vapors just like Nathan. It takes 2 days for the black smoke to disperse. People pour out onto the streets to meet their friends. Thomas is eager to share everything he knows about this incident with you. They took lots of burnt up people to the city temple. Mom told me she was helping the healers. There are many rumors. Some claim it was the work of a beast stirred from its slumber, while others say it's the surviving witches that continue to threaten the order in the empire with their accursed powers. But as for you, you patiently wait for father to come back home, then you ask him about it. Father spends day and night working in the prefecture, while mother spends all her time in prayer. It takes a full week for father to finally come back home, and he's almost completely spent. You muster enough courage during dinner to ask him about what happened outside the city. Father raises his head, his face a bleak, weary mask, and starts muttering his proclamation. It's almost as if he doesn't see you. It's the mine outside the city. They were trying to get to vein of ore. There was an explosion, the mine caved in, and the black smoke started flowing. Many workers died there. It was all because Count El Velasco, who owns the mines, wanted them to start mining that vein before they were ready. Some of the workers weren't even reborn. Perhaps the twins thought their final time had come. The prefecture had been inundated with complaints from families that they have lost their breadwinners. Asking the judges for help, many people also lost their cattle to the black smoke. Count El Velasco blames gunpowder for the disaster. The prefecture and the newspaper must repeat whatever he says, but it's plain old greed and tyranny of noblemen that are to blame. Why is the welfare of our province always paid for with commoners' lives? Then, without warning, he goes silent again. You keep thinking about it for days. Can a human life really end so easily? A single movement of bad luck and you die, only to re-emerge from the temple or the family crypt with a new black mark on your arm, or even worse, you remain where you fell, dead, never to be reborn again, ever. During lunch, father tells you to stay home in the evening and prepare to meet some important guests. Your elder brother Stefan will return home by dinner tonight. Joining him will be your grandfather Gregor Brante, as well as a noble friend of the family. You are excited about your brother's return. It has been years since you last saw him. How has he changed during his years away from home? You and father await the guests anxiously. The doorbell rings. 3 people are standing outside. Grandfather is the first to come in naturally. He has not changed a bit since his last visit. Still eyeing the house with contempt, still looking for any reason to demean it. Grandfather is followed by a stately young man dressed in a jacket embroidered in silver, whom you barely recognize as your brother. Stefan casts a glance at your threadbare clothes, your dirty fingernails, and smirks. The last to enter the house is a personable gentleman with a worn-out, wrinkled face. You have heard a lot about this man from your father and grandfather. He is Baron Augustin Elborn, Stefan's uncle, a family friend, and the province's prefect, which means that he is the head judge and thus father's superior. Sir Elborn smiles lightly and offers you his hand. And this must be the youngest son, Siegfried, yes? You have your father's eyes, young man. Father bows slightly to grandfather and Sir Elborn, but there's a moment of quiet when Stefan comes. Father reaches out to him awkwardly, expecting an embrace. There's a question in Stefan's eyes as he looks at grandfather. The old man shakes his head almost imperceptibly. We noblemen ought put our emotions on public display, father, not even after a lengthy separation. There is no embrace. Instead, Stefan nods to father curtly. He responds in kind, his face devoid of emotion. After the greeting, you proceed to the sitting room. Elborn is the first to enter. He kisses mother's hand, and Gloria's too, and tussles Nathan's hair after seeing him hiding by the table. Grandfather acknowledges them with a glum nod. Greetings, Lydia Brante. I remember you were kind to me, but I was but a child, and you must be Nathan. You could barely walk when I saw you last. Your older brother ignores Gloria completely, not even a greeting. You proceed to the dining room in a dignified manner and take your seats. The dishes smell delicious, but then merely punctuate the overwhelming tension at the table. Elborn is the only one with a friendly smile on his face. The dinner is splendid, Lydia. Did you choose the dishes yourself? You have a truly refined palate. It warms my heart to know Stefan spent his early years with you. Womanly care always does a child good, no matter their estate. Your fork freezes in the air halfway to your mouth. You expected many things from a noble of the sword, but words of praise for a low-born woman are not one of them. You cast a glance at grandfather. He looks as if he's about to choke on those words. It will do my grandson more good to stay at boarding school among his equals. Please, Gregor. Parenting is not less important. Nothing can replace a mother's love. I cannot deny it. It saddens me greatly that my late sister could not be there to raise Stefan, but there was still a family for him, and he could be surrounded by love. How could that be bad? And besides, his father was by his side all the while. A father's example is always the best, after all. Robert earned the judge's rank the same way you did. Your grandson will surely follow in your footsteps, and who knows, perhaps even the younger men of the Brante family will contribute to the... You clumsy, low-born cretin! Everybody Everybody is startled by this sudden outburst. Grandfather's face turns red. He's glaring at a young lady servant holding a pitcher over a glass. Stefan is sitting right next to her, dabbing a napkin on a fresh stain on his jacket. "Be gone this instant." The lady servant runs away, leaving the pitcher on a small table by the door. After a quiet moment, Elborn smiles again. It appears that the servants have left us, yet dinner is far from over. "Worry not, uncle, there are enough commoners at this table to keep us served with food and drink." Stefan glares at Gloria across the table. She is sitting right next to you. She shrinks down and hunches over under his gaze. Father furrows his brows. Mother covers her mouth with trembling hands. Grandfather sneers. Stefan's gaze does not move. The silence lasts far too long. Then she starts to rise from her chair. "If the Brante gentleman so wishes." Your hands clench into fists under the table. How can he bring himself to humiliate his own family, his own mother and sister like this? Is it all grandfather's doing? Stefan could not even bring himself to embrace father without his permission. And yet, they are noblemen and they have the right to act this way. If there is any way this dinner can become even more unbearable, you do not want to see it. You deliberate for a moment. Deliberate. Then take your napkin off your lap and rise to join Gloria. A moment later, you hear another sound of another chair moving. Your mother joins you. The three of you now refill glasses, serve food, and clear away the dirty dishes. Sir Elbron tries to make small talk with father, but in vain, so he focuses attention on grandfather and Stefan. Grandfather is pleased to inform him of Stefan's achievements at the boarding school, especially his exemplary sword fighting skills. He constantly stresses the importance of your elder brother for the future of your family. You listen to him dispassionately as you continue serving new dishes to the table. As you wait at the nobleman's table, your sister and mother never bump into each other. Your labor is impeccable. Grandfather could not have found a fault with it, even if he tried. Your shoulders and back are aching. Being a manservant inside your own house hurts even more. When the guests finally leave, Mother and Gloria embrace you with relief. You did not neglect your relatives and shared their humiliation, and the composure that you have shown gave you new strength. Hot dry wind sweeps through the city from the barren lands around it. The noble residents of Anizot prefer to remain in their chambers, while the commoners huddle in tents or in the shade of the silver tree. You are on an errand now. Your father wrote a letter to the noble acquaintance, and you are to deliver it. Thomas, the boy shown down the street, is tagging along. You two are inseparable now. Hot dry wind sweeps through the city from the barren lands around it. The noble residents of Anizot prefer to remain in their chambers, while the commoners huddle in tents or in the shade of the silver tree. You are on an errand now. Your father wrote a letter to a noble acquaintance, and you are to deliver it. Thomas, the boy down the street, is tagging along. The two of you are inseparable now. The errand is an easy one, so you decide to take this opportunity to ride along the path of Anizot where the nobles live. So here you are, in the middle of the city square, resting on the ancient brickwork by the old fountain in the merciful shade of the gargantuan silver tree. Thomas is by your side, lazily slouching on the edge of the fountain basin. It's hard for commoners like you and me. Either you break your back in a workshop day and night hoping someone will buy you a good deed someday, or you become a manservant to some noble. You never get a chance to enjoy life. This is our lot, you remind him. We work, we endure, and we suffer. But Thomas waves your words away. Yeah, I know all that already. Mother keeps drilling that stuff into me. We must be humble. Our strength is patience and persistence. So yeah, I say. But I want to make my fortune no matter what. So how ain't that living my lot? I ask you. but the lots, they ain't easy. Let's take you for example, Brante. Your father's a nobleman, but even if that didn't make you want to look at your hands, you never had to work as hard as me. But we have the same lots. We're supposed to suffer the same. Or look at your father. He's a judge. He travels at the prefecture day and night doing his judging, and he's a noble. I've never seen an Archnean work as hard as he does. You shrug. The Archneans are a different race. The books say they were born to rule over humans. They are never commoners, always nobles of swords by birth. They found the empire after subduing all the human kingdoms on the continent. Humans will never be their equals. The Archneans are always better, smarter, stronger. Their skin is a noble shade of blue. If the books are to be believed, of course, you have never seen one yourself. Your idle chattering is suddenly interrupted by a rugged-looking guardsman dressed in black and green. He chases you away from the fountain. Common rubble like you have no place there. You hear the clattering of hooves and wheels against the cobblestone, and see flags bearing a coat of arms, a sable serpent on a field of vert. It makes you squirm. It's the Archduke's coat of arms, the Milanides dynasty. The carriage door opens, revealing a young lady in a luxurious dress. You cannot look away from her. Those dainty shoulders suggested, but not revealed by the cut of her dress, her black hair cascading over them, her stately slim silhouette, her pouty lips and prim nose, and those eyes, dark like the night sky, the way she moves, fluidly, gracefully, and most incredible of all, her skin glows with an azure blue. She's a masterpiece given life. She's an Archnean. Clear the way for me. Young daughter of Tarquinius Milanides, the Archduke of the Maghreb province. She is the embodiment of Archnean beauty and pride. You first laid eyes on her by the fountain of Golden Square and Izot when she dropped a handkerchief there. Milanides guardsmen work quickly to clear the way from the fountain to the Archnean lady. The setting sun dances on her skin in bizarre patterns. With one elegant motion, she reveals a handkerchief, then leans over the basin and wipes her head and neck with its cool water. Well, I'll be. That's Octavia Melendez, our Archduke's own daughter. The Archnean turns away and proceeds to gracefully back to her carriage. You see something slip out of her hand and fall onto the cobblestones right next to you, her handkerchief. It is right there by your feet, intricate craftsmanship, expensive woven fabric, delicately decorated with emerald filigree. Your heart skips a beat. Will you dare draw the beautiful Archnean's attention in order to return her lost possession, or would you rather not attempt to cross the chasm between you and her? When you give the handkerchief back, it takes you a moment to overcome your fear. You follow the young lady Milanides and call out to her in a nervous voice. She turns around, her beautiful face marred by a puzzled expression. You extend the dropped handkerchief towards her. Lady Octavia's face contorts into a sneer. She stands to the guardsman indifferently. A guardsman gauntlet-clad hand slaps you in the face. It rings your head like a heavy bell. Your nose cracks obediently under the staggering force. The rest of you follow suit and you fall prone. You can discern the guardsman's voice through the painful din in your ears. Should I take the handkerchief back, lady? After a commoner's hands have befouled it, let him wipe himself with it for all I care. The carriage drives away. Thomas runs up to you and drags you back to the fountain. Your head is still ringing from the blow. The fateful handkerchief is still crumpled in your hands. Conditions meet again. "12 years old now. You overhear an important conversation. It is a spring night, and your mother has just sent everyone to bed. You walk past father's study and hear voices coming from beyond the door. Grandfather is yelling, and father is replying quietly. The elder Brante men are fighting, arguing over the place of commoners in the city. You sneak outside to avoid mother's attention and hide next to the open window of the study. Perhaps they'll mention you too. That low-life idiot had to gall to pay me a visit and beg me for some service. He had the insolence to ask me outright. He thought I was going to support his claim for the chairman's seat in the lesser quorum. How dare he? Father, please listen. Mayor Eggman may be lowborn, but he carries a lot of clout in Magro. He owns 5 iron mines. A friend like him could be quite useful should he become the chairman of lesser quorum. I don't give a damn who the Eggman is. Robert, what he is, however, is lowborn. His lot is humility and obedience. The likes of him can never rule anything. They're nothing but a flock of sheep that need a firm, noble hand to guide them. I wasted so many years trying to quash that quorum decree, but that accursed Cornelius Tempest did everything in his power to make the emperor sign that pathetic screed. And now even lowlifes can wield power, true power, Robert. Just the right to discuss the size of the Archduke's tax, nothing more. That is only the beginning. What's next? Are they going to arm the lowlifes now and make them into judges? If the empire rejects the foundations and the lots, the entire edifice will crumble. Bah. That sounded like a god pen. Who am I telling this to? It is already crumbling, and you, my son and heir, are a harbinger of its destruction. Father, I'm begging you, I do not wish to marry a third time. Lydia is a good wife and a dutiful mother to my children, if only you would allow her to. I will allow them nothing, neither Eggman nor that freeloading wench of yours. What will you want me to do next? Live by the laws of the lowborn? I can already see where this is going, and I'd rather run my own sword through my gut than live in a country where nobles and lowlifes share the same rights. My only dream is to see the name of Brante in the blue book, but that dream will never come true, and they will never call me Venerable El Brante, and it's all because of this marriage of yours. My only hope now is to hear Stefan addressed in such a manner one day. Thank the twins I didn't let you ruin the boy. He's about to grow up to be a true nobleman. His children will bear the name of El Brante. You have 2 more grandsons. Those spineless milksops from the common lot, they're incapable of anything. The best your middle son could do is sneak to the Imperial College and get ennobled by the mantle, although I have grave doubts about even that. As for the downtrodden Nathan, I hold no hope for him whatsoever. You hear your grandfather's heavy footsteps, the thudding of his cane and the slamming of the door. It's time for you to sneak back before you're discovered. You start studying in the school of Sir Tibor and began to master the science. Finally, the day comes when the teachers stop coming to your house, but before you can breathe a sign of relief and put the books away, Father asks you to come to his study. You're grown, my son. It's time for you to continue your education away from home. I've chosen a deserving school for you. Sir Tibor's school for the children of noblemen and well-off commoners. Naturally, it's not a boarding school for nobles, so you will study there during the day and come home in the evening. You share the news with your best friend Thomas. Sir Tibor school, eh? Yeah, I gotta ask my parents to send me there too as soon as they get the coin together. Father says workshop has toiled day and night for years to save up for my education. The school is based in the ancient estate of Archnean design. The classrooms are tall and spacious with massive benches. The sounds of scraping quills and lectures on history and imperial law and theology echo under the vaulted ceilings. The rules are strict, the lessons tiring. Restless Thomas keeps you from getting distracted, and several times a day he gets his hand slapped with a stick for it. Every teacher demands flawless mastery of their subject. Every day Father asks you about your studies. You have already told him twice how Magra joined the empire and how the noble's court of honors is different from the commoners' civil court in the city prefecture, but Father keeps pressuring you to work even harder. When it's time to go to bed, the mother will not let you go to sleep until you recite a newly learned prayer for her. And when it is time to go to school, you promise her every day that you will behave with great humility and stay clear of insolent behavior of any kind, for you still live by the commoner's lot, and that lot is hard work and suffering. Your first month in school draws to a close, and the teachers announce that there will be exams at the end of the month to determine the best and the worst students in each subject. Father insists that you devote all your spare time to studying law and history if you wish to follow in his footsteps. But when you speak to Mother every day, you still consider theology. You still remember the revelations and divine visions that came to you in your earliest years. You have only one more day until the exam. You have locked yourself away in your room. It is already getting late. Your desk is covered with handwritten notes surrounded by leather-bound books. Just looking at them makes you queasy, but you have to read through all of them. again, at least for one of your subjects. There's a massive nagging thought on your mind. Thomas ended up in big trouble the other day. He got in a fight with several boys who lived next street. They heard about your wooden fortress and got in an outrage by a fortification built by commoners. They swore to dismantle it tonight. Thomas swore you would defend the fortress until the end. Perhaps you should abandon your books to rescue the friend in need. But then you hear your little brother Nathan knocking at the door. He stands there shyly, not saying a word. He often does that, standing still and swaying speechless until you either speak first or he runs away. But this time he actually says something. The door is locked. Are you okay, Siegfried? Is there anything I can do to help? Your head is spinning. This is the last evening before your school exam. If you fail, your families will be very disappointed. You have to refresh your memory on law or theology, either one or the other. But Thomas and your fort are about to get stormed. Why today of all days? You grind your teeth in rage at the thought. Nathan is by the door, trying not to bother you. He wants to help you the only way he can, for reasons known only to him. Will you accept his help? We have to go help our boy, man. You push Nathan out the room. He cannot possibly help you prepare for the exam. But once you are sure nobody is behind the door, you open the window and climb out into the yard over the fence. And then you run like the wind to the wooden fort where Thomas is in peril. The battle of the fort has already begun. Thomas is cornered. He swings a loose wooden plank, fending off 3 boys at once. This is not a fair fight by any means. Your friend is rugged enough to have him fighting a fighting chance against 2 of them, but 3 is too many for him to handle alone. Where you been, Siegfried? They're about to smash our fort. Get them! You flank the assailants and slam into them at full speed, channeling the cavalry of the holy warriors. You take them by surprise as you pull one of the aggressors away and knock him out with a punch to the jaw. Thomas cheers you on. You team up and make short work of the remaining foes. Your enemies retreat in shame. Thomas got a black eye and his knuckles are all covered in blood, but he looks unusually pleased with himself. Couldn't have done it without you. Just look at them trying to tell us where to build our fort. Okay, time to fix her up. Your score on the exam was merely satisfactory, but still well above the failing grade. The family is not too happy with you, but life goes on and your studies continue. You could have worked harder to prove yourself at the teachers, but the wooden fort still stands proud, and that is what matters. Shout out my brother Thomas Guerrero. Your education continues. As you study imperial law, you come to realize that there's a certain hierarchy even within the noble estate. It seems your father's status is not quite equal to that of the more eminent human and Arcanian gentry. You return home with this new information at your disposal. Father asks you about school after dinner, as he always does. And what is the difference between nobles of the mantle and those of the sword, Siegfried? You already have an answer ready. The latter status is hereditary, meaning that it is passed down from father to son. After the Arcanians, nobles of the sword are the most eminent humans in the empire. They own land and estates, they fill offices of the highest rank, and the names of their bloodlines are preserved within the Great Blue Book. Nobility of the sword can only be granted only by the overseer of the province or the emperor himself. And how are such eminent people addressed? With the honorific L before the last name you respond. Sir Augustine L. Bourne, for example. Father pats you on your shoulder, clearly passed. And what about the Arcanians and their status? What have you learned about them? The Arcanians stand above all human gentry. They are born to rule over humans regardless of their titles. No L is required when addressing them. They need no honorifics, for the names of their ancient dynasties are known to all. Father nods somberly. Yes, we can never be their equals. Do whatever an Arcanian tells you and never defy them, ever. What about your grandfather and me? Where do we stand as nobles? That is easy. Father and grandfather are nobles of the mantle. The title cannot be inherited, but it can be earned by any commoner as a reward for great service to the empire in the legion or as a civil servant. Father suddenly grows quiet and looks at you in the eye intently. Yes, and someday you will earn a noble title too, son. All in due time. Sons of the nobility. Sir Tibor's school teaches children of all stripes. Nobles of the mantle and low-born parents can send their sons here, and every passing day the children of noblemen invent new ways to snub and bully the commoners. Most of the time the bullying leading them is Deirdrick, the son of the secretary for the imperial chancellery and self-important slob. The sons of noblemen never pick on you, however. They know that your father has been ennobled by the mantle. However, Deirdrick and his retinue soon choose Thomas as their favorite victim. Time and time again you ask your friend not to pay them any mind, but again and again Thomas grows angry and snaps at their self-satisfied mockery. It is early in the morning. The students are busy flocking to the classroom for the next lesson. You wave Thomas over, and when you see him, he waves to you, and then a bucket full of soap full of slop, splashes on him. Needless to say, it is the work of Daedric and his entourage. You hear his familiar creaky laughter. The tailor's son stinks. How dare you sit next to decent folk? Thomas clenches his fists. You're dead, Daedric. He throws himself at Daedric, haughty, and entourage like a soldier ready to wage war. He attacks them first. This is just what they expected, and they are free to retaliate. He barely makes one movement before 4 pairs of hands grab him at once. Daedric snares and kicks your friend in the belly. Thomas gasps for air and starts coughing. You stand between them as Daedric radiates another kick. The nobleman's son cocks an eyebrow. Why do you mingle with commoners, he asks. Your father is the noble of the mantle. You ought to be friends with your own kind. Your equals, not the dirt beneath your feet. Behind him, 4 boys hold Thomas down and he struggles furiously. The other students are watching you, frozen in fear. Daedric haughtily extends a hand to you. He clearly expects you to shake it. What will you do? Challenge him to a fight. You do not shake his hand. Instead, you challenge Daedric to a display at some dignity by fighting you one-on-one. That is, if he considers himself a nobleman's son, of course. Daedric's face grows serious. There's no way for him to refuse a challenge in public. Daedric makes a sign, and Thomas is released and pushed to the floor. He gets back on his feet, cursing and itching to rush at them again, but you hold your friend back. The teacher of Imperial Law comes to the room just in time. Everybody immediately returns to their seats. A day full of lessons begin. You keep daydreaming of Daedric's face and how you are going to put an end to that nasty smile of his. Let's catch that bastard together and clean this clock. He hurt me, not you. The deal has been made. You tell your friend that is a matter of your honor now. Thomas huffs angrily but agrees. Daedric is already waiting for you in the narrow back street by the school. He is his retinue by his side. You walk forward and give him an opportunity to end this dispute once and for all. This is the nobleman's way. If you win this battle, Daedric and the other children of nobles will never pick on the commonest sons again. If he wins, he will never stand in their way to protect other students. You will fight one-on-one. Daedric walks forward uncertainly. You both roll up your sleeves. You raise your fists in a fighting stance. Daedric tries to copy your movements. You hit him first. Daedric does manage to land several glancing blows, but he is fighting a losing battle. He has never been in a real street fight. Thomas nods in approval. You have learned a lot from him. It does not take long for Daedric to stop fighting. One more blow and he squeals and raises his hands. You have won. You turn to the other nobleman's sons with a victorious look on your face. No more teasing, and if anyone else says so much as one bad word about Thomas, they'll pay. Daedric's former retinue disperses silently. Honorable. Your theology teacher tells you more about Anizot. It's more than just a provincial capital. It's also a sacred place blessed by the gods. It is where the twin gods' first disciples spilled their blood, and from where the blood grew the sacred silver tree. Its enormous foliage hangs over the city. You see its branches in the sky every day, but you have never approached the trunk of the tree yourself. Today you will be taking your first trip to the silver tree. Your class is visiting a service in the great temple by the tree's very roots. Thankfully to your theology teacher, you and the other students will witness the landmark of the twins' advent up close. Everybody is excited. Soon you and the other boys will enter the slums surrounding the church district by Anizot. The roots are pulsating under your feet. They spread underground all throughout the area. Pathetic, cramped hovels and filthy streets surround the trunk of the tree. They are the home to the paupers, day laborers and preachers. The people of the district bow humbly to you and point you toward the temple. They seem at peace despite the abject poverty in which they live. All who live directly beneath the tree are filled with its divine grace, your teacher says. People come here to make peace with the world and their fate in him. Your class is unusually quiet. Everybody is listening to the rustling of the leaves and the underground beating of the roots. The sky above you is obscured by the tree's canopy. You find the temple of the twin gods right next to the tremendous trunk of the tree. It almost seems a part of it. There's a crowd there, pilgrims dressed in traveling clothes, paupers and beggars, commoners, people of the city, and the occasional well-dressed noble. There are arguments among some people who are gathered in the separate small groups. Many people are wandering around staring upwards at the tree's branches. The tree impresses you with its might and the calm emanating from it. You are filled with a desire to sit down and think of the world, to learn something about yourself, to touch the silver white bark and hearken to the whispering leaves. You are distracted enough to fall back from your rest of your classmates. You notice a small path should take you right next to the trunk. A tall red-haired woman walks out of the crowd of pilgrims. She's wearing a worn white robe. She is no longer young, but her face is youthful and covered in freckles. Her hands clutch a book. You have never seen this lady pilgrim before, yet she looks at you as if she recognizes a lifelong friend. She beckons at you and says her name, Matilda, a preacher from Astina. What she says next shakes you to your very core. It is commendable to see a young man so keen to learn the teachings of the twins, she says. Yet you will never follow the light of truth within the walls of the temple. Inside you would find only the lies about the lots, the erring words of Prophet Asatius, sanctified by the passage of centuries. Yet anyone who sets out to read the accounts of the twins' own lives know that they will never so much as mention the lots. The red-haired preacher's word frighten you. They clash with everything you have heard from mother, everything you have been taught at school. The lots are a lie. You freeze in fear. Should you argue with Matilda or ask for more information, or should you treat her as a mad woman and catch up with your classmates? Suddenly feel a small, warm hand grasp your arm. You see a girl right next to you. She is just a little older than you, wearing a black dress, threadbare yet almost spotless. Her hair is covered by a handkerchief, with only a single golden lock showing. Her brown eyes are burning with rage, her hand pulling you away from the red-haired preacher. You stare in confusion at the strange young girl, your cheeks flushing by the sudden touch. There's a bit of colour on her cheeks too, but she starts speaking to you quietly. Don't listen to her, she's dangerous. Come to the temple with me, only there you will see the truth. You stand there, surrounded by the crowd of praying pilgrims and the sound of shuffling feet torn between two people you have never seen before, and each of them expects you to follow her. But all the while you hear the whispering of the wind in the tree's branches. The branches reach out for you, almost as if the tree wishes to speak for you itself. Can you hear its voice? The fuck, bitches, I need weed! The tree is beautiful. The silver white foliage stretches and spreads towards the sky, held aloft by a trunk so thick it would be a challenge to walk around it. The leaves rustle, whisper peacefully to the wind. The tree seems to speak to you. You walk away from the odd-looking preacher and the young acolyte. Ignore them as they call out to you. You walk around the temple and crowd of people, getting close to the tree with every step. Then you extend a shaking hand to the touch of the bark. It is unusually warm. You can feel a pulse beneath the roots. The tree is alive. The roots are so gigantic they form large grottos, spaces of air embraced by the roots in the ground. You squeeze into one of the grottos. It is unusually bright and quiet, shielded from the noise of the Anizot. Right now there's only you and the tree. You sit down, there are leaves rustling around you. The only noise you hear is the beating pulse of life that flows through the tree, and the pulse beats in time with your own heart. You feel clarity and calmness, free of doubt and frustration. The tree speaks to you. Or are they your own thoughts, so strange, unfamiliar and eye-opening? The thoughts speak of soothing love and of crystal clear law, and of love and law intertwining to bring you the miracle of life to you. You stop slouching and your frown becomes a light smile. Hours pass like fleeting seconds. You lose track of time until you overhear someone is shouting your name. Alas, it is time to leave this grove. The sun is setting over Anizot now. The day was a quick pass to you. Your teacher frowns, ready to scold you. You mumble an explanation and say you are ready to be punished for your disobedience. Yet instead the teacher nods in understanding. You keep looking back at the tall tree on the way home. Whatever happened to you today, you find it difficult to put into words. Gee, willpower, full of power. Another school day has ended. You are making your way home, still mulling over the things you learned from your teachers. The founding of the empire, the eternal and unshakable rule of a single dynasty, the three estates, each with its own right. What an odd sort of order that the world has, yet so mysterious. At least it sounds like the way when your teachers talked about it. Mother is waiting for you on the porch. She smiles gently when she sees you, and yet Her expression still shows great concern. Father left on a trip to several distant Magran towns since a few days ago. Since then, mother has been trying to tell you something, but she seems uncertain. Son, could you put your things away and come pray with me? You join mother in a prayer to the twins. She prays with fervent sincerity, her head bowed low, reciting the words of obedience to them and their greater design in a barely audible whisper. You repeat after her, just as she has taught you ever since you were a little boy. When your prayer ends, mother stands and turns to you. Siegfried, my son, you are 13 now. You'll be grown soon. It's time you learned about certain things that are important to our family, difficult things. It's about your father and me, about our marriage. You gaze curiously into mother's eyes. I'm sure you've wondered about before. Your father is a nobleman of Mantua. How can he marry a commoner with another man's child? But you see, Siegfried, your father, when his first wife Amelia Brante died, it was a painful blow to him. He lost the will to live, lost all purpose. He felt like his own destiny was cut short that day as well. And then he met me. You know the troubles I had in the past. I went to a prefecture as a petitioner to ask them for help, protection, justice. When I was a young girl, I worked at a small shop that sold crockery and dishes. A nobleman took a liking to me. May his name never be forgotten. The twins know I was humbled and honoured. His lot to rule, but he took me by force. Mother falls silent, summoning the courage to continue. Gloria is that nobleman's daughter, but he was outraged. How could I have the gall to burden him with low-born progeny? He turned me out on the street with that little baby girl in my arms. Mother's voice is shaken now. You take her hand tenderly. I had no home, no honour, nowhere to go, no one to help me. When I went to the prefecture, I didn't really think the judges there would help me find justice against my former master. But then when Sir Robert heard my plea, his eyes met mine, and I believed that at that very moment the twins themselves granted him the gift of their love. Your father told me that there was nothing he could do to make the detestable nobleman marry me, but he would never abandon me and her and baby Gloria, and if I agreed, he would take me to his home. Tears are running down mother's cheeks. And I knew it, my son. I knew how much his honor, his reputation would suffer, but caring for me brought him back to life. It's like he experienced another sacrament. He rediscovered his noble purpose, his lot to rule and protect and care for others. But his decision to marry me, he's still paying for it today. Your father had the courage to defy your grandfather, the founder of his bloodline. If only you knew how much he had to endure, my son. If only you knew the despicable rumors we heard about the Brontes all over and he's up. It was only thanks to the efforts of Sir Gregor that the Brante bloodline managed to hang on to what little remained of its reputation. And now the noble families have all but forgotten about the scandal, thank the twins. Mother falls silent. She looks at you intently. Do you understand what she is telling you? My son, I'm not telling you that just to shed the pain of my past. I have no reason to complain. Even Sir Gregor has accepted me through great teeth. But you need to understand the heavy burden our family must bear, including our scandalous marriage and Gloria's foul origin. And Gloria, she can never be a Brante. Even if Elder Brante agreed, the news would stir up the old scandal in the minds of the high society, and if that were to happen, Siegfried, they would even see your birth as illegitimate. Mother sighs heavily. What if I told you just now something you have to know, son? You are about to enter adult life, but my lord, I must be humble. I cannot tell you how to treat your family, but may I ask you a question? Now that you know all of this, do you still see Gloria as your sister? Filled with determination, you assure mother that Gloria is always and will always be your sister. You want Gloria to be a Brante too. You want her to be a part of the family. Who cares what the nobles of Anizot say? Mother beams with quiet joy when she hears this. Oh Siegfried, if only you knew how happy that would make me to have a family united at last. However, the joy on her face quickly gives way to concern. But I already owe you, oh good Sir Robert, a debt I can never repay. He's given my daughter so much, a home, an education, his care and advice. The Brante bloodline could suffer so much from Gloria's existence. We should all just learn to accept the status as it is. Just then you heard Gloria's careful knock at the door of Mother's chambers. Mother, Siegfried, I couldn't find you. You happily greet your sister. Yes, she is your sister. No old secrets can ever change that. Mother gives you and Gloria a kiss on your forehead and returns to her prayers. You and your sister walk downstairs together. Mother is alone by her bedside, now thanking the twins with a quiet prayer for the Brante family that they have given her. You hope they can hear her. Mother's boy, this Siegfried. You are 13 now, another theology lesson. Today's sermon is about the priests and why the clergy is the only one of the three estates with the right to interpret the lots and guide the other two estates accordingly. Thomas sits next to you, huffing and puffing as he fervently writes down the teacher's every word. But you heard all of this from Mother many times before, so you take this moment to daydream a little. Father promised to take you to the capital once your studies are complete, but the teacher suddenly casts a stern look around the lecture hall and raises his voice at one of your classmates. A boy by the name of Brian jumps out of his seat. The teacher asks him to repeat what he had just said. Brian freezes and seems to shrink. He tries to muster a reply, but nothing comes out. The class becomes agitated. Someone is about to get punished. The teacher now looms over Brian. The boy's cheeks are flushed and his eyes are covered in tears. You all watch the teacher's ironbound look as he raises it sharply, about to strike. Brian shrieks and raises a hand in front of him. A sudden flash. The teacher screams and buries his face in his arms. His hair ablaze and his skin covered in horrible burns. It's magic, real magic, just like in the books about the Magro rebellion. The class freezes in shock. There's a dull thud as the iron-bound book falls to the floor. Brian's hysterical laughter rends the silence. He stands up from the bench, fire in his eyes and the sparks on his fingertips. There are screams now. Students run for the door. The teacher tries to extinguish his burning hair. Brian snaps his finger and the books of Isatias on the desk turn into pillars of flame. He laughs and raises his arms and the curtains catch fire. The screams grow louder as the fire howls. Brian's face is tense and violent. His mouth is spewing flames and his whole body is shaking with laughter. He steps towards the door. You and Thomas glance at each other. He's going to burn the whole school down. Your friend's determination makes you brave. You run behind Brian and knock him off his feet. You both tumble to the floor. Even though his body sears your flesh. Even through his clothes, his body sears your flesh. Brian screams, convulses, and grabs Thomas by his shoulders with his burning hands. Thomas howls but stays put, then knocks Brian senseless with several fierce blows to the head. There are servants fussing around the room now. They put out the fire and take away the teacher, his body covered in horrible burns. You and Thomas remain next to Brian, who is lying on the floor silent. Soon 3 men in black cloaks enter the doors of the school, each bearing an edict sealed with silver, the Inquisition. You and Thomas are told to step away from the witch. They lock Brian's neck in a silver collar and take him away. One of the Inquisitors remains behind to tell the students what happened. That was magic, he explains. The ungodly power that twists the minds of men into savage instruments of murder. Only the sacred shackles of silver can hold it at bay. Only the power of the twins can save us all from its evil grasps. The next day you are forbidden from ever mentioning Brian's name again. He is no more. A great day looms ahead. 100 years ago, Uther Tempest was anointed to rule over the empire. Blessed by the twins themselves, the emperor reigns continuous into its 2nd century. Celebrations in honor of the Tempest dynasty are held throughout the city and the school is closed for 2 weeks because of that. On one of these evenings, Father tells you everything that grandfather is going to bring Stefan back home for holiday. On one of those evenings, Father tells everyone that grandfather is going to bring Stefan back home from the holiday. They say the family should celebrate the day of anointment together. You could benefit from your older brother's company with his noble education. Stefan might be able to teach you how noblemen are supposed to act. Soon Stefan arrives. He now handles himself different. When it comes to ordering servants around and ignoring Gloria, he is still grandfather's double, but he's more grown up and far less haughty to you. It is a dark winter evening. A damp, cold wind sweeps through the city from the barren lands of Magro. You and Stefan are sitting in the library. He is telling you all about Eterna, the capitals of the empire. It is so full of so many wonders. It is full of so many wonders: the Imperial Palace, the enormous Temple of the Twins, the Military Academy, the Imperial College. You have read so much about these places, yet he has seen them firsthand. Nathan enters the library. He looks cornered. I can't find Gloria. I looked everywhere. She's not in the attic, not in the same room, not in the kitchen. Urchi wanted to sneak off to the ruins of Charmilandius' palace. She could be lost in there. You and Stefan exchange looks. Charmilandius, the rebellious duke, the ruins of his palace are a dangerous place. Some children claim his tainted magic still lingers there, which means you absolutely have to make your way there and back. Again, to prove you are not afraid of the long-dead witch, your brother tells you to wait. He leaves and soon returns with his sword in his sheath. Get ready, Siegfried. We're going to rescue Gloria. She must have gone to the ruins in search of inspiration for another one of her little rhymes. The two of you instruct Nathan to tell your parents you've gone for a walk in the square. You and your elder brother head outside. You are confused by Stefan's actions. He has refused to treat Gloria as a human being, so why is he still so determined to rescue her. Stefan notices your expression. Are you wondering why I care about Gloria all of a sudden? I can't act in any other way, can I? The law of honor compels me to protect my family. Gloria will never be a Brante, but father still took her into our house. I must respect the seniority and defend Gloria. Like she's one of our own. You are Brante too, noble or not, which means it's your duty to aid me. The ruins of Charmelandia's palace span an entire district. The palace was abandoned centuries ago, and its remnants are overgrown with thick underbrush. The ruined palace is empty, nothing but cold wind blowing over crumbling brickwork. Even the worst scum of the land stay clear of this place. You make your way through the ruins until you spot scattered sheets of paper covered in writing. Your sister's writing. You heard loud laughter coming from behind you. Dilapidated stone wall nearby. You pull yourself up to peer over it. Gloria is lying on the ground face down, twitching and sobbing. A gaggle of drunk young thugs surround her, cackling and swinging their arms about. You hear their shouts, "Look at this lass," sitting there rhyming words together. She thinks she's all noble, but don't you worry, you low-born tot. We're gonna teach you your place. Out of the loud spits, one of the louts spit at Gloria as she lies there. "Get away from her this instant, you bastards, or I spoil your guts." They respond with mocking laughter. Stephen draws his sword. There's still thugs recoiling there, but they soon notice he's the only one-armed man against many. They start reaching out for sticks and stones. "Stand by my side, don't let them flank me." Stefan's hand shakes, but he looks ready for battle. He's outnumbered. For a moment you hesitate. Perhaps it might be better to run for the nearby district and call for guards. The young thugs are already armed with makeshift weapons. They start approaching you and Stefan cautiously. Follow your brother's. Stefan's firm voice fills you with confidence. You follow your noble brother's orders. It takes you a moment to grab a stick, and then you're at Stefan's back, angrily swinging at the louts as they try to bring him down. One of the louts lunges at your brother with a stone, but you hit him with a stick and he falls down right at Stephen's feet. His sword flashes. The blade sinks deep into the young man's stomach. He wheezes. Blood starts pouring onto the ground. The thugs freeze. Stephen pulls out the sword out of his face and inscrutable mask and returns to his fighting stance. You are stunned to see Stefan take another man's life so easily and effortlessly. Little picking his own teeth. The thugs look like they're about to flee. There's rage and confusion on their faces. They never expected to be the young nobleman to use the sword. They never expected the young nobleman to use that sword. Stefan just scoffs at them. "Low-born scum, that's all you are. This is the only language you understand. Good job, brother. Gloria, get up, we're going home." He turns to glance at your sister, giving the enraged thugs just enough time to rush you. You get separated from Stephen, your back is against the wall now. They hit you hard in the stomach, then your face, then the side of your head, then your mind slips away. When the darkness disperses, you find yourself laying in bed. Stephen's in the armchair next to you reading a book. He is alive with left arm in a sling and a black eye, but still alive. Your head is spinning and you feel nauseous. You try your best to sit up. Stefan looks up from the book. "Don't try to get up. You lost a lot of blood. I suppose that was a few thugs too many for a single warrior, even with good backup. I'm impressed. We fought like an army. The noble's orders, the commoner obeys, all according to our lots. We defended the family's honor. You know, brother, the nobleman's lot is also a great burden that few are able to bear. It takes courage, not to fight everything you see, but to do your duty. Each and every decision a nobleman makes becoming a part of this family's legacy, flowing in the blood tide forever. I think about it often. A noble mustn't act weak. A noble mustn't suffer like the people of Lowborn lot. A noble must rule over them wisely. A noble must ensure that they have work to do. It is not merely your own lot you have to look after. You have to ensure that 1,000 others can live by their lot as well. And there are so many more matters to take care of. Honor, dignity, tradition. It's tough, but it's what it makes to be a nobleman. Do you understand what I'm talking about? There is approval in your brother's eyes for the first time in a long time. It was a pleasure to fight by your side by side, brother. Before long, the entire city hears how a gang of low-born thugs assaults Stefan Brante. Grandfather ensures that the brash young men are found. Some of them are taken into custody. As soon as lesser death releases them, Grandfather seeks vengeance on those who hurt his favourite grandson. Perfect El-Born, a friend of the family, promises to personally oversee the trial and ensure that justice is served. Stefan and grandfather decide to stay in Anizot until the trial ends. Grandfather demands the true death for every single assailant. You ask father to explain something. How can a legal court sentence criminals to true death? How can world judgment overrule the twins' law? Your words are true, my son. Their law is second to none, yet the twin gods also made the empire and all its ways. The court of law exists to execute the laws of heaven here in the world. Should the court of law sentence a person to death, the law high above will always enforce it, and so every execution brings true death. The commoners who assaulted Stefan, a born nobleman, have committed a grave offence, there's no doubt about that. And yet, according to the Emperor's decree, even commoners have the right to defend themselves when they are about to face true death. This means that all of us will have to appear at the trial and testify before the court. Evening comes, Gloria visits your room. She looks crestfallen and her fingers reaching for her long hair. You put away your school books and ask what is bothering her. The trial is tomorrow. I thought I was going to appear there too as an eyewitness after all. This whole mess started because of me, but Sir Robert isn't even going to mention that I was there. Can you imagine? He says it would ruin the case. Why am I always in the way? Nobody ever mentions me. Nobody has to listen to me. It's like I don't even exist. And I thought Stefan standing for me finally meant something. Maybe I'll become part of the family, but no, everything is back to usual now. Gloria tries her best to hold back her tears. You do your best to comfort her. Father needs to keep the family out of trouble. If Sir Robert believes that I only bring trouble, why did he took me into the house at all? Gloria runs away. You return to your books, but you can't help but get lost in thought. What if they told the court you weren't there either? How would you feel then? There was a knock at the door. His father. He closes the door behind him and sits next to you. There's an exhausted look about him. Son, you will be testifying before the court tomorrow. Please remember what I'm about to tell you. Gloria wasn't at the ruins at all. You went there with your brother to inspect this historic site. The low-born men insulted Stefan first, then attacked him. Stefan had managed to deal with the assailants on his own by the time the guards intervened. Gloria will cast suspicion on the case. If we mention her very existence to the court, the reputation of the family will suffer. Your grandfather will never forgive me if that happens. Do not let me down. We are all counting on you. You recall the night of the fight. It was like it was moments ago. Gloria sprawled under the feet of those cackling thugs. Her poetry, her greatest treasure, scattered on the ground. She thinks she's all noble. Those were the words they spat down at her. But doesn't grandfather mean the same thing when he denies that she is a part of the family? But if you do what father tells you, the trial will end quickly. Those commoners will face true death for assaulting a noble. If you mention Gloria, things will get complicated and you cannot predict how the trial will end. Which is more important to you, the right or what is just? You nod in agreement. You will follow the family's plan for the trial to the letter. A faint smile appears on father's fatigued face. Thank you, son. This is an important case for our family and for me as well. I appreciate your support. The day comes, the trial takes place in the National Hall of the City Prefecture. Sir El-Born himself presides as the judge. You are seated next to father and Stefan. You testify to the court one after another. You echo your older brother's testimony to the letter. The young commoners insulted you as you were both walking to the ruins. Then they assaulted you. Stefan defended you. The lives of the four thugs are forfeit. Sir Brante rises to deliver the sentence. The court of Anizot judges you guilty of assaulting Stefan Brante, a nobleman. All four defendants are sentenced to true death by hanging. There is no wind, but you feel a gust sweep through the wall. The defendants turn pale. Their mothers are bawling and crying. Everybody in the court feels the dreadful power of the law, and it is stern and just. The very power has been provoked in the sentence, and by that very sentence, the lives of the four men are literally forfeit for all eternity. The gallows await. Stefan and grandfather stand in the front row. The wood creaks, the trapdoors open under the young men's feet. They dangle in the air, wheezing and reaching out for support with their feet in their final moments. Father lets out an inaudible sigh of relief. It's all over now. When Gloria comes back home the day after, she refuses to eat dinner and locks herself in her room. Before she leaves, however, she notices a scratch on her face. You notice a scratch on her face and her hair is disheveled. You go to her room and knock on the door, but she will not open. Then finally she replies she has already gone to bed and you should leave. Did you do the right thing during the trial? Your sister is still being bullied. No one knows she has a family to defend her. Gloria does not want to be defended now. Those four commoners saw no mercy. Their lives ended for assaulting a nobleman. What did you seek to prove with this, and to whom? Was it worth it in the end? Stefan leaves after the trial alone. Grandfather does not go with him. For the first time in a long time, he lingers in the house for more than a fortnight. Father says Sir Gregory is ill and needs rest. Several months go by and it becomes clear that grandfather will not recover. The eldest Brante is mostly bedridden now. On some days he has trouble recognizing people. When he meets to address you or Nathan, he calls you Robert, your father's name. But when he does get out of bed, the house grows empty. The servants hide, mother locks herself in the chambers, you and Nathan run outside or hide quietly in your rooms. If grandfather sees anyone in the hallway, he begins lamenting. Oh, nobody heeds the lots any longer. Any harlot with a child can marry a nobleman these days. Children have no respect, his son betrayed him and let him down. And oh, how the Brante family has lost its honor. Again and again you hear grandfather knocking at our mother's door, screaming that it's all her fault. He blames her for ruining the chances to find bliss in the hereafter. He blames her for dooming him to suffer at the foot of the pillar. You overhear your parents talking one night. Mother begs father to move Sir Gregor in his old home and spare the children his decline. Father refuses her outright. It is late at night. The hot, dry winds are coming. The house is empty save for you. Nathan, Gloria, mother and grandfather in his bed. Father has left for the capital on business. You are engrossed in the history of the empire, snapping out of your reverie only when the clock strikes midnight. You blow out your candle and get ready for bed. You hear the shuffling of heavy feet outside your door. You see the light in the hallway. Grandfather? What could he want in the middle of the night? You peek in the hallway once he has passed. Grandfather's figure sways as he heads to the door in mother's chambers. He opens the door and walks in. You hear him saying something quietly. Your unease is stronger than your fear now. You sneak closer to his words. You foul commoner, I have to cleanse my sins. I have to save my soul. You are my greatest sin. You and what you have done to Robert and his family. I should put a stop to this marriage. I should have stopped Robert from tainting this house by your presence. Why didn't I do it? Please, Sir Brante, I beg of you. Silence, you will do my bidding. Fire will cleanse all low-born filth from this place. Fire and flame will free Robert from this disgrace. This is for my son's sake, and for my sake. I need to eradicate the low-born filth. The twins, they are calling for me now. I can feel it. I beg of you, please have mercy. Your mother begins to cry. You run into the room, unable to stay out of this any longer. Grandfather's gaunt figure looms over your mother's bed, a lit oil lamp in his hand. Mother is sprawled out on the bed crying. Please, just let me warn the children. I beg of you, Sir Brante. Your steps are loud enough to be heard. Grandfather turns to look at you. Stay out of this, Siegfried. Be useful for once. Worldly matters concern me no longer. I see only my sins now, and I am a sinner. I am a sinner. The twins, they forgive no one. They will judge me by the pillar. I must do something. I don't want to suffer for all eternity. Go away. Mother is crying. Grandfather is still looming over the bed, driven to madness. His hands shake as it clutches the oil lamp. His eyes shine in the dark. He truly believes that this has to be done. You are suddenly torn. What if he is right? What if the only way for his soul to find salvation? There's no going back now. You have a moment but to act. That's my mom, Joe. You look at grandfather defiantly and step towards him. He stares you down with rage and throws the oil lamp at the floor. You manage to catch it, but just barely. Several drops of hot oil hit the rug, not nearly enough to start a fire. The lamp's glass is blistering hot. It burns your hands, but you still hold on to it safely. You low-born scum, you ruined everything. You're every bit just like your mother. You. Enraged, he takes a swing and you squeeze your eyes shut, but he does not hit you. Instead, there's deep exhalation. You peek at him with one eye, just enough time to see him collapse. All his strength is fading away. His chest is heaving, his face a grimace of contempt. Another heavy exhalation. The contempt is gone. There's only fear now. Grandfather's eyes widely open, almost in surprise. He exhales. His eyes grow dim. Mother is there whispering a prayer. She is shaking violently. You put the oil lamp gently on the bedside table and call for the servants. They carry the body away. It does not disappear. True death has found him. He will never return. You spend the rest of the night with your mother in the sitting room. She will not let go of your hand. For many, many nights afterwards, she keep seeing grandfather's shadow out of the corner of her eye. Father returns from Eterna in the morning after. He's unusually composed as he arranges for the funeral. The house becomes quiet, not the looming heavy sort of quiet of the past few months, but the calm relief you all feel now that the crazed old man is no more. At last, Gregor Brante, the family's patriarch, has departed for the hereafter. Your grandfather, Sir Gregor Brante, left the world to forever meet the twin gods. Late respects. The night of your grandfather's death shook your family to the core, yet no matter how it happened, your grandfather Gregor Brante is dead and will never return. There was a fearful shadow looming over the rest of the family, the Brante patriarch exerting his influence on all the lives below him, and all of you will remember him forever. Father is the new patriarch of the family now, yet he cannot still bring himself to sit in the head of the table where Sir Gregor used to preside. Stefan locks himself away in grandfather's bedroom every day. He will not talk to anyone. Gloria and Nathan still jump at every sound that so much as resembles the knocking of his walking stick. Mother spends all day in prayer at the temple. And yet the house has become calm and quiet with his passing. But there is one more thing that must be done. The final farewell, it weighs heavily upon your soul. The day comes to pay your final respects. Father goes to the tomb alone, save for Stefan, Nathan and you. Mother and Gloria stay at home. Only nobles or those who may become nobles may join the ritual. There's a solemn silence as you walk to the crypt. Father is the one who breaks the silence when you finally reach the door of the family crypt. Your grandfather built this crypt and now he will be the first Brante to remain here in body forever, the first ever noble in our family. It is our duty now to hold to the sacred sacrament of flowing blood for Sir Gregor. We will honor his legacy and join him as the founder of the noble Brante dynasty. Stefan perks up at his father's words, his hand still clutched grandfather's sword. Tradition decrees that it must remain in the niche above the owner's sarcophagus. Nathan on the other hand looks even more frightened now. Stairs carved of white stone lead you forward. Down in the gloom of the crypt, atop a pedestal, you see the sarcophagus that holds your grandfather's body. Father takes a moment to compose himself before paying his final respects. Gregor Brante, my father, brought our family into nobility through his unshakable will. He was a judge and a loyal servant to the empire. He lived his life as if he had been born a noble, and he never strayed from the path he had chosen. He sought to make the Brante family ennobled by the sword, so that our children's children might be of noble birth. The twins know I abided by my father's words all my life, even if I could not obey him every time. Father lets out a bitter chuckle as he says this. Stefan glares at Father, then turns to glare at Nathan and you. After all, the two of you were born under Father's shameful decision to marry a commoner. All of you remember his disastrous passing. He did not die the true death he deserved, yet we all must know what he fought for and the future he believed in, to the very end. And he would be proud to see his family bid him farewell with the sacrament of the nobility. Stefan still glares at Father sullenly. His fingers remain clutched around the grandfather's sword. Nathan barely pays attention to the words. He looks around with unease, his arms folded to his chest. Father reaches into his jacket and pulls out a standard dagger, thin and sharp. He takes off his gloves. Watch me carefully, my sons. Make a small cut on the palm of your hand and let the blood flow into the duct on the wall of the crypt. It will join your grandfather's blood, hair and flow forever. Then ancestors and progeny will become as one. We shall enter our family's blood tide and receive grandfather's final blessing, for his blood flows first in our blood tide. He will respond to you, you are part of him, he is part of you. With a quick motion, Father slices his hand and holds the bleeding cut above a small opening in the wall. Then he hands the dagger to Stefan. Stefan cuts his hand without hesitation, does as Father's did. You receive the dagger next. The dagger handle feels warm. You hesitate for a moment as you look at the palm of your hand. If you participate in this ritual, you will enter the Brante's blood tide. You, a low-born child, a child who is still a commoner. Are you ready to claim your legacy as the descendant of the noble Gregor Brante? The eyes of your father and brothers are upon you. Nathan, your youngest brother, will follow your example. You can be certain of this. You return the dagger to Father and say you cannot participate in this ritual. You are a commoner and you and your back bears off the mark of the leash. Grandfather will never let you honor his name as a nobleman. Nathan nods in agreement. You do not deserve the honor. Father furrows his brow and shakes his head. Stefan, help me close the lid of this sarcophagus, and remember to ask Grandfather for his blessing. And as for you two, it seems you weren't ready to walk the nobleman's path after all. You're right, son. Your grandfather would never have allowed it. The lid of the heavy sarcophagus falls into place with a heavy resonant thud. Then suddenly you all freeze as each of you hears your late grandfather speak to you. His voice is loud as it rings in the depths of the crypt, and yet he speaks to each of you separately. Foul blood weakling, and you have actually about your legal birth, Siegfried. You have not a drop of nobility in you, and your pathetic little brother is the same. You are retained upon my flesh and blood. Begone from my crypt. Your legs carry you outwards of the crypt by their own accord. Out, that stuffy crypt. You can finally breathe again. You hear slow footsteps behind you. You turn around to meet Nathan's gaze. You did the right thing. If it weren't for you, I'd have done what Father told us. Grandfather said I should stay away from his legacy. He said it would do me no good if I tried to follow his footsteps. How's that for word of guidance, eh? Nathan stands as he embraces you. Father and Stefan leave the crypt much later and walk to the carriage without a word. You and Nathan humbly follow behind them. The event is a consequence of your previous actions. Another day of school is behind you. You are now wandering your district, taking your time before going home. It is getting dark. Soon you are walking past the splendid mansions of Count El Velasco, one of Magra's richest landlords. You hear a familiar voice from the other side of the fence. It is Stefan's voice. It is followed by the sound of a young lady laughing. You peek through the fence and into the mansion garden, and indeed there you see your older brother dressed like he's going to meet the emperor himself. He's currently busy helping a pretty young lady out of the window. She locks him in an emotional embrace. You recognize her, Mario El Velasco, Count El Velasco's daughter, and as the whole city knows, she is already betrothed to another young nobleman from a far more illustrious family. Oh Maria, I thought I would help you come down to earth from your heavenly abode, but your very touch brings me to the heavens. He picks the Count's daughter up and holds her in the air. She laughs almost imperceptibly and kisses him on the cheek, but then Stefan takes her by the chin and turns her to face him, and their lips join in a kiss. A flurry of emotion washes over you as you watch it happen. Stefan is putting the reputation of his entire family at risk. Acting so frivolently with the Count's daughter may turn the Count's influence against all the Brantes, and yet Stefan always speaks so highly of noble bearing and composure and family honor. Stefan's face is glowing with joy. Your elder brother, he is happy, truly happy. You have never seen Stefan like this, as his arms hold the Count's daughters in a tender embrace, so gently as though he fears to hurt her. And Maria reciprocates his feelings. Must you really rob them of their secret joy? If you ever speak to him about this, no one else must hear it. You must wait by the gate patiently until Stefan decides to return from his escapades. He is startled when he finally notices you standing by the gate. You fold your arms as you face your older brother. He is confused to see that you speak to him very openly. You know about his affair with Mario El Velasco, and Stefan should not forget that the young lady should forget that young lady as soon as humanly possible. He freezes at these words. You keep talking. A noble cannot behave like this. Stefan is risking bringing shame on all the Brantes, and worse yet, he is defying his own lot and his own words, his honor, Maria's honor, the family's honor. It will all be harmed with his recklessness, by his recklessness. How could Stefan have forgotten this? How could he have let his emotions rule him? Why should you have to be there to remind him of born noble about this? You, who were born a commoner. Stefan frowns but lets you keep talking. You wait for his anger, but there is none. When you finally done speaking, your brother stays quiet for a long moment and then sighs heavily. Yes, indeed, you're right. I lost control of myself. Maria, I am a madman in her presence. I forget the world when I'm with her, and I forgot my duty with my lots and my family. I will part ways with Lady El Velasco and offer my apologies to her father. My brother, thank you, reminded me of who I am. From that day on, Stefan stops going out at night. His attitude towards you has changed. Now he looks at you with respect, as if he's finally come to see you as an equal. Even in his anger, he is now quick to recall your brave decision to stop himself. Grandfather's castle, the fugitive girl. Grandfather's passing and last respects have left a mark on the entire family. His words relayed from the hereafter keep echoing in your mind. You still do your best to avoid the memory of your grandfather's last night and spend more time on the city streets with Thomas and your other classmates. The road by the house reminds you of another clash with death. Sometimes as you walk along the road you recall Sophia, the beautiful girl with the wonderful eyes and the terrifying thundering hooves. You have not seen Sophia since the fateful day. The children who live nearby say her parents have sent her to a rich Arknian family, the Ottens, as a servant. The sun has set, the pillar shines palely in the dark sky. Thomas is ill, so you decide to visit him and tell him the latest news. The streets seem oddly agitated tonight, full of horses, cloaked men, strange faces, and hushed voices. A young nobleman in a heavy embroidered cloak is walking back and forth, clutching his sword nervously. There's a grimmest rage on his delicate blue face. He is Arknian. You overhear voices. So on, the girl's not at home. We searched the house. Her parents swear she ran away from home too. They claim they wanted to bring her back. Just do whatever it takes. Turn this loathsome district upside down if you must, but bring my servant back to me. She's here. Sophia ran away from Arknian. How can this be? There's only one place on the entire street where a person could hide, the abandoned moral house, 4 houses away from yours. You head there, doing your best not to attract attention. The lopsided house built of yellow bricks has been abandoned for 20 years or so. You remember playing there as a boy. You glimpse a figure inside even before you enter. A pair of eyes glimmer in the dark. You'd recognize them even after another 4 years. Sophia has grown up. She's almost an adult now, and her face is full of fear. She's not an easy going girl next door that you remember. She finally recognizes you. Oh, it's you, Siegfried. Be quiet, they were looking for me. I ran away from the youngest Otton. I might be in for a lesser death, but I'd rather die than spending another day in their slavery. I'm just a thing to him, just a toy to play with. Sophia winces and closes her mouth. As she says this, there's a glint of bright yellow deep in her eyes. I ran to my parents. I told them all about the men I had to serve, and they went and alerted the Ottons, and they don't want to be the target of their ire. But you aren't going to tip them off, are you? The barking and shouting are getting closer. Sophia's voice grows quiet. She runs off to the darkest corner of the house before you can answer. One of the Otton servants is so close you can hear his cloak swishing against the ground. He notices something and calls for the others. There are more voices around you now. They approach the house from the yard and surround it. One of them seems particularly snappy and annoyed and impatient. You have already heard this voice today. If you're in there, girl, you'd be wise to come out and quit wasting my time. All will be forgiven and you'll be back where you were, and you know it. You know it. If you don't, I'll drag you out by the hair. The hilt of the young Arknian sword bashes at the door. He is about to lose his patience for good. Sophia hugs the wall in the dark, trying to stay still. She glances out at you. What will you do? Your heart is racing. Can you act the Arknian's orders? Do you have the gall to defy the mighty nobleman? You pull yourself together and walk slowly to the half-collapsed doorway. Sophia stays behind. The tall young Arknian stares you down, his condensing smile dripping with scorn. In your most assertive voice you answer his question. You will find no fugitive girl in this house. What are you doing here, boy? I wasn't speaking to you. Out of my way. Otton needs no permission to enter, so he steps inside. You stand in his way and you have already assured the young Arknian there's no one else inside. You have done him a great service. What makes him doubt your words? Why, you lowlife? I dare you stand in Arknian's way. You must have lives to spare. Otman backhands you with immense strength, enough to send you flying. The Arknian draws his sword and it rises into the air. Better than one of the men, but then one of the men shouts, "Sir, there she is!" The Arknian turns around and briskly walks away. Sophia, use your direction to climb out the window on the back. You jump to your feet and escape the house in the same way. Sophia's slight silhouette is gaining distance far ahead. One of the Otton's men is chasing her down, ready to catch her at any moment. But then something unbelievable happens. Sophia lets out a dreadful scream, and the air around her sizzles with golden sparks. Otton's man falls to the ground, clutching his head. Sophia freezes for a second, as though uncertain of what she just did. What was that? Otton screams at her right next to you. So that is it, eh? So that's how it is. The wench is a witch. Seize her. Magic. Sophia is a witch? Sophia's silhouette disappears down an alleyway. Otton's men give her the chase, but they will never find her in the dark, sprawling district. You watch her go, Will you ever see her again? The runaway girl becomes the talk of your district for an entire week. You overhear that Sophia managed to flee the city. The Ortons are furious. After this sudden appearance, she disappears from your life once more. You might not see her again until much, much later. You're about to turn 15, just one step away from adulthood. Mother is acting anxious at dinner today, barely touching her food. You exchange glances with Gloria. She carefully tells you that she wants to go to the tailor. Mother shudders and her hand clenches into fists. No, don't you dare leave home today, I forbid it. That dirty heretic Fortis is preaching his lies under the silver tree today. Twins willing, I don't want you to hear any of that. You and Gloria glance at each other. Fortis, he is a patriarch, the head of the clergy throughout the entire province. That is the first time you've heard Mother speak like this about a priest, especially such a high-ranking one. I want you to leave the dinner table. Gloria comes to your room with a cunning expression on her face, like she's about to play a trick on someone. She has a plan. The two of you should sneak out of the house and go to the silver tree. You simply must hear the sermon for yourself. What's so bad about Patriarch Fortis? Why does Mother hate him so much? You two are grown-ups now. Surely you have the right to know. You agree with your sister. Together you sneak out from under your mother's watchful eye and hurry to the silver tree. The temple block is full of people from all ranks and estate. There's barely enough room for you to squeeze through the crowd. The crowd has gathered around the very roots of the tree. Gloria suggests that you climb to the roof of the nearby building so you can hear and see everything better. And not a moment too soon. From the roof, you see a tall silver-haired priest step onto the platform by the tree. Dressed in a common black robe that looks far beneath his rank, yet he stands like a noble before the crowd. Behind his back is a banner flapping in the wind, the open book. This is a symbol of the new faith, the crowd whispers. The patriarch holds his hand up to the sky. The entire temple block grows quiet. He begins his sermon, his vibrant voice rolling across the square. Fortis speaks of a great mistake. We entrusted ourselves to the lots as the only way to fulfill divine providence in this world. But for all these years, the will of the twins has been interpreted for us by a single man, Prophet Azatius. The twins are even watching from atop the shining pillar. Of this we have no doubt, but how can we blindly believe that we truly follow their will by the following the lots? Have we not seen the 3 lots of Azatius fail again and again to answer the question of how we ought to live our lives? Have we not seen people change their lot in life again and again without being smitten by divine wrath? Every person born, whether human or Archean, lowborn or noble, must find their lot and their way to the gods on their own. From now on we will seek the gods in the account of their own lives, in their own acts in this world, and in their own words as they echo within us. And as we heed the voice of the twins within, we will each find their path for us on our own. The crowd at the silver tree listens to the patriarch's speech in stunned silence. You glance at your sister. Her eyes glisten with tears as she hears Fortis's words. Then suddenly a hoarse cry from the crowd. If there are no lots, does that mean the nobles are gonna till the fields and the commoners are gonna bear arms? The crowd begins to murmur. The patriarch raises an arm and inhales, ready to answer. An odd figure leaps from the crowd onto the platform. A dirty beggar dressed in rags, a knife flashes in his hand. The blade slices, blood starts spurting from Fortis's throat. He slumps over and collapses. A dark brown puddle spreads from across the platform where he had stood. Gloria clutches her mouth to suppress a shriek. A few moments of stunned silence and then the screams begin. The people are frantic. The temple guards try to restore the order in the crowd, but to no avail. An old woman dressed in an inquisitor's cassock tries in vain to apply pressure to the patriarch's wound. The noble draws their swords. Dogs are barking. The crowd is pushing and shoving. Children are crying. The entire square by the tree is in chaos. From the roof you see the moment where people start trampling each other, howling, praying, shouting. Gloria tugs on your sleeve. Time to go. You climb down from the roof and run. You return home without exchanging a word. Mother has been in her room all the while, so no one notices your absence. Gloria locks herself in a room. You do not discuss the things you have seen. They are too frightening, but your parents discuss every little detail of the bloodstained sermon over dinner. This is unbelievable. A patriarch murdered in plain sight. The gendarmes and archduke guards have searched every corner of the slums, and the murderous beggar has disappeared without a trace. I can't even imagine a more gruesome crime. Fortis has died a true death, never to return from the hereafter. But how? Why can't the patriarch be reborn? He's so close to the twins. Such is the way of the world, my children. Once you are granted great power over the twins, there will be no hope for you to come back, not even after your the first of your deaths. Emperors, their powerful vassals, heads of the great Archean dynasties, patriarchs of the church, none of them are destined to be reborn. Fortis is gone forever, a fear for a soul. It will be lost in doubt. Would the twins accept him upon the peak of the pillar? We must pray for the patriarch. Children, let us hope he managed to return to the true old faith before the moment of his passing. But there's little hope for that. Tomorrow you turn 16. According to imperial law, you will be a full adult. Your time at Sir Tibor School has ended. You have studied enough to apply for Imperial College and learn the judge's trade there. You are to travel to Eterna tomorrow. Your friend Thomas will go there with you to try his luck in the imperial capital. Mother and father prepare you for the long journey. Remember, son, there is only one goal for you. You must become a student at the Imperial College. Your teachers dragged you through all those books for a reason. You have the knowledge, the fervour to be ennobled by the mantle as I was, and as my late father was before me. Who knows, maybe one day you will be the one to write the name Brante in the blue book and ensure that your children's children will be noble by birth. Then, mother speaks to you carefully. There's worry in her eyes. But Robert, there may be another path for our son Stefan, your firstborn, was born a noble. He will surely earn the title for the entire Brante family. Your second son bears the favour of the twins. For him, the path of the priest is worthy calling, no less than a nobleman's sword. They have been arguing about your future for a while now. Still, she would never defy the will of a nobleman and her husband. Smile at them both, trying to placate them. Gloria laughs quietly behind their backs. Just don't become a snoot like Stefan, and you'll do just fine. Mother chides Gloria for that. You wink at your sister. Nathan has been downcast all evening. He barely touched his dinner. When everyone gets up from the table, he suddenly rushes over to embrace you. Please don't go, Siegfried. Can't you stay? I don't know what I'm about to do without you. You tussle his hair in response. There's no way you can stay, you say. But when you come home, you will come home. You'll tell him all your stories and bring him a special present from Eterna. This is it. All your lessons have been learned. All the things have been packed for the road. You will leave the family home tomorrow. Tonight is your last night at home before your departure. You walk through the rooms one last time. The sitting room where mother used to read you fairy tales. The library where Gloria used to spend all her time. Father's study, which you entered only on special occasions. The backyard where you taught Nathan to build towers one summer. The whole place feels so familiar, so dear to you. It feels like home. You have lived here for 16 years. Will you ever return? It's getting late. Everybody is already in their rooms, but you hesitate. Father, mother, Gloria, Nathan. It will be a long time before you see them again. What will you spend your last few hours? Who will you spend your last few hours at home with? Nathan is already in bed snoring. You approach your brother quietly and pat him on the head. He is startled but starts smiling with joy when he realizes it is you. Hi, hey, can we go outside? I need your help with something. You creep silently downstairs. The air outside is damp and drops of dew glisten in the night. Nathan drags you towards the bushes. A spotted kitten looks at you from the bushes with sad eyes. You see a bowl of water and some scraps of food next to it. Look, he ran into our yard today, see? He's got a broken paw. We need to save the poor kid. You pat Nathan on the head. Together you sneak the poor animal into the house and take him to the storage closet. Then you close the closet door and begin the treatment. If anyone is clumsy in your family, it is Nathan. Yet his hands are unusually accurate and calm as he binds the kitten's paw. You start chatting as you treat the kitten. As you think out loud about living in the capital and working towards your goal, Nathan strokes the poor animal's wet fur. He sighs. It's tough for me, thinking about being a grown-up. I'm not much anything even now. I wish I could be like you. You sure know where you're going and who you're going to be. You shrug. No, I mean it. I can't be like that. They say I'm going to study too and go to Eterna and become a priest or go to the college, but there's no way I can make it there. Does that mean there's nothing else out there for me? You'll be leaving soon and I'll be all alone here. You'll write to me. I know you will, but you'll come back one day. But I'm scared I might lose my way when you're not around. You come back, but it will be different. You'll be different. I'll be different too. You swear to Nathan that even if everything changes, you will always be his brother. You will always be there to offer him advice and support, and you have no doubt that he will find his way in life. It just takes time to find yourself, sometimes more than you might expect. The sun is about to rise. You should rest before the long trip, but you are not tired at all. Nevertheless, it is time for bed, but before you leave, Nathan hugs you again. Please promise you'll come back, Siegfried. You swear to him that you will. You get into bed and fade away into a gentle, happy sleep. They will be waiting for you back here, no matter what. Departure from home. You leave the family home for a long time. Your future awaits you in Eterna, the capital of the empire. Last night was your final night, the end of adolescence. Last night was your final night at home. The carriage is now waiting at the gate, ready to take you to the capital. The clip-clopping of the idle hooves against the cobblestones count as seconds before your departure. You can take one more look at your parents' house and recall your childhood spent there, in the nearby yards, at your school, and on the winding streets of Anizor. You clashed with the greater world around you and survived. You felt the tingle of emotion for the first time. You were taught by the school and the streets. You explored the city of your birth and learned something of its past. You witnessed first-hand events that will be remembered by history for all time. All of this is yours now, forever. You saw death, lesser death, followed by rebirth, and the true death that takes you and never gives back. You saw death lying in wait to strike the unaware like a beast stalking its prey. You saw grandfather's angry grimace lit by the flickering fire of the lamp, the Archduke's cavalry trampling those who stood in the way, and your older brother's bloodied sword slicing through the air. Death has followed you from a very young age, and yet you live on. You have a friend who has been by your side all these years. Thomas taught you many things: how to take a hit, how to keep your word, and how to remain true to your own self. And now Thomas is walking the same carriage as you are, with a heavy bag slung over his shoulder. Your friend will remain your companion for the time being. Ahead of you is a long trip towards the capital and adulthood for the first time. You will be away from your family and home. What awaits you then? What awaits you in the future? These are your personal qualities in adulthood, which you will use for the rest of your life. They are the sum of the qualities that you have gained in childhood and adolescence. For more skilled checks, you will need a value between 10 and 16. Values 17 to 19 are required for rare and especially difficult choices. The maximum value 20 only gives you a chance for one extraordinary deed. Perceptions 4, we're inquisitive. Nobility is 5, we are noble. Diplomacy is 9, we are unknown. Perception is 4, we are inquisitive. Ingenuity is 3, we are bright. Manipulation is 7, we are naive. Perception is 4, inquisitive. Spirituality. I'm struggling today. Spirituality 2, searcher. Theology 6, neophyte. Determination 2, active. Nobility 5, noble. Valor 7, weak in battle. Determination 2, ingenuity 3. Scheming 5. Determination 2, spirituality 2 equals to eloquence, tongue-tied. Okay. You survived your first clashes with the greater world around you and felt the tingle of emotion for the first time. You were taught by the school and the streets. You explored the city of your birth and learned from its tales. You witnessed firsthand the events that will be remembered for history for all time. It is time for you now to leave your family home.